Thank you.
Looking forward to that performance a little later, Millie. Welcome to the Hub. I'm Stefan. Alongside me, Crystal. How you doing?
I'm really excited to be here. And now after that, like that with a buzz, how cool. Like I love being in the studio with you guys, and you know, it's always just fun
Great
to
way
be
to start the show.
to be here. And actually, what a great show we have lined up for you this evening. Have you seen the trailer for the film Tragic Waste?
It looks good, doesn't it?
It looks very, very good. Looks brilliant. Produced and set here in Gibraltar. And we speak to Nigel Canepa and Peter McKay all about it a little later.
Also, it's Plant a Seed Day this Saturday. Lots happening at Alameda Gardens as a result. We hear all about it from Annabelle and Ellie a little later. Before that, and up first, Dyslexia Awareness Week. We're speaking now to Stuart Byrne and Martin Bosso. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
So, yeah, it's been a busy week. The Flag Day was yesterday. There's events. I mean, there was a workshop today. And tell us how it's all going so far.
Yeah, I think it's been going really good. The support from the general public has been great. Even the businesses, you've seen them on social media wearing their red T-shirts. I want to thank everybody for supporting, and also donations. People have been contacting us, giving us donations as well. And I love the Flag Day because you get an opportunity to talk to people. People come to us, ask us questions. Some people just generally because they're walking past, and some actually, you know that we're there and they come and they ask questions. There's a good opportunity to speak to people.
Your workshop today was mainly aimed at LSAs, obviously a vital part of our education system, but you had a lot of teachers also, inquire whether they could come along as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we had a venue that was limited in size, but luckily enough, we haven't turned anyone away. Anyone who was interested to come could come. And it was mainly LSAs and a few other people who are maybe studying or training and wanting to get into the field of teaching. It went really well, as far as I know. Everybody seemed to be very happy. A lot of good feedback at the end, really encouraged. Everybody seemed to really enjoy it, and I think that, hopefully we'll do more in the future because we didn't have all the LSAs. Obviously, there's lots of them, so hopefully we can do more in the future to help educate them and train them. But obviously the government does that as well, and we work with the government, and hopefully we can do more through that as well.
Also, it's very important to have more education and for people to know more about dyslexia to remove the stigma.
Yes, of course. I mean, that's education and understanding is the way to go. And I think a lot of the times people say, well, how can we help? I said, well, the first step is understanding. Because once you understand, then you don't really need to be told what to do. Once you understand someone, you naturally know how to deal with people, So if you understand that dyslexics maybe take a little longer to process information, well, then you need to be a little bit more patient with them. Or, ask them a question and give them a little bit more time to answer, and so on and so on. So the more you understand it, the easier it is to deal with people with dyslexia.
Yeah.
I think this will be quite interesting because quite appropriately this week's youth talk is on the subject of dyslexia and someone speaking who you'll be very familiar with.
Yes.
Hey guys, it's Nick. And throughout history there have been many successful people who struggled with dyslexia. People such as Spielberg, Einstein, Richard Branson and many more. Today we're talking to Sean and about his struggles with dyslexia. So, Sean, it's a very important time of the year for dyslexic awareness. Well, when would you say you first found out that you had dyslexia?
I figured out I was dyslexic when I was around 5 or 6, I think. My parents started to realize that I wasn't doing too well in school and things like that, and they started to realize that it could have been dyslexia. So then they looked into it and they paid around like 300 or something to have a specialist come over for me and diagnosed that I was actually dyslexic.
So would you say that dyslexia actually affected your performance in school?
Dyslexia really affected my performance in school. I mean, there was times where I would be reading. I would not be able to read what I was reading. I'd see blurry lines, or when I was spelling, I couldn't figure out how to spell the words, and reading in front of the class was always much more of a struggle than people who didn't have dyslexia. So yeah, I would say I really did struggle quite a lot, to be fair.
So would you say that there's enough support for children with dyslexia in schools and education?
I think that the schools they're trying, they're doing their best, because when I was younger, there was a lot less awareness for dyslexia, and as I started growing up, you could slowly see how the teachers on like in service and those type of days, they would have a day dedicated to helping dyslexic people. And throughout my years, I've been able to realize getting extra time, maybe more one-on-one personal time with teachers, and it has helped quite a bit. But when I first started school, I think the awareness was not very good, but it's slowly improving as the weeks go on. And I think we can only go up for the awareness. I don't think there's a huge awareness, but it definitely can get better.
They say that the dyslexic brain works differently, but it has positive attributes in the form of creativity and problem solving, and some would even say that they're superpowers. What would you say is your superpower?
I'd say my superpower is probably sports or more physical activities, maybe like art or PE, even music, hands-on things where I don't have to sit down and, you know, start writing and do like English or math or one of them things academically. If it comes hands-on, I'd say that's my superpower. That's what I'm best at.
What would you say to other young people struggling with dyslexia?
Not to be afraid to ask questions or to say that you're struggling, because when I was a kid, I used to read and I wouldn't know what I was reading, but I'd stay quiet. And then I would never tell anyone, and no one would know. So I wasn't getting the help. But the best thing to do is to stand up and actually say, look, I'm struggling, I need help. And that's the best way to get help in those type of environments, I believe.
Well, Sean, thank you for your time. I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. As you can see, having dyslexia is not the end of the world. But if you do think that you do have it, please go and reach out.
Well, the words of your son, Sean.
Yeah.
I'm actually so proud. What a brilliant interview.
Very good, very good. Yeah. It was very good. I liked some of the things that he said that you know really hit home for me. Especially, you know, speaking out. You know, my daughter as well. She's dyslexic. She's in uni at the moment, but all her reports were like she needs to speak up more. She needs to speak up more, and it's quite funny because Sean he's not the type of guy who will struggle with that. But even he, you know, says that it's something that he should have done more. And I think that teachers want to help. They're there to help, and if you just suffer in silence, that's not going to help. So it's good. I think that's really good advice to tell kids. You know, step up, go to the teacher. You know, you don't have to do it in front of the whole class, but just say you need help, and they're there to help.
Definitely. And Martin, tell us about the story with you and your youngest.
My son, initially, the way I found out, or I think I found out, was because he came home with a reading book. Well, at the time, he was like 5 years old, I think. There's pages with the pictures and a few words. And he would memorize what the teacher told him, picture by picture, and he'd read the book fluently. And then when I turned back, page 1, page 2, what's this word? Just a or and, so he wouldn't know it. So through there, I started to find out, or try and find out. My wife and I started pushing at school, trying to, because I thought he was dyslexic. Because my wife, she's never been diagnosed, but we think she is.
Okay.
My cousin is. So I started investigating, started reading, bought this book, which is very, very good for anyone who wants to learn more about dyslexia. And anyone who gets overwhelmed by reading, they've got like QR codes, which you just scan and you can just listen to it or watch it. Of course. And I contacted Stuart, so that he would help me. And a friend of mine, Stephen Shakaluga, said this teacher, Claire Francis, was excellent at Priory Park. And so I got in contact with her, and he's been going to private lessons with her, and he's improved immensely.
Good.
And for me, it was the frustration, not knowing, not understanding, not being able to help him. So bit by bit, trying to educate myself to help him. Because his self-esteem was really, really low.
Yeah, of course.
And he hated standing up, reading in front of the class or an oral. So whenever he did an oral, we prepare PowerPoint presentation just with visuals, just visuals. And he'd be happy. As soon as you put a couple of words, he'd be overwhelmed because the class is looking at me because they think of it. And you should tell him, look, just do your best. And it's as long as you do your best, it doesn't matter. So...
Yeah. I think when you're that age, though, like everybody else is like getting on and everybody is
Yes.
progressing. I mean, asking for help is embarrassing anyway, even if it wasn't for something like dyslexia. So I think like the fact that educators are being, because of your charity, because of your work, and because, as you mentioned earlier, your mum's work, because she's the one who actually started Dyslexia Gibraltar for you. It means that it helps parents and it helps young people to be able to thrive, you know, and do their best. Everybody deserves to do their best.
And for him, he's the oldest of my 2 sons, and he's 3 school years older. And the other one, I should tell him, when you come to read, just go in the room with Mummy, not in front of Jack.
Yeah.
But Jack has accepted it, and he's like, no, my brother's going to help me read. So it's really good that they've accepted it, and he's embracing it, and they're actually enjoying reading together.
Yeah.
I mean, they mentioned it in the little clip about how dyslexic people have superpowers, and we were talking about earlier. Like, I found it so interesting that actually a lot of intelligence services in the UK, in particular, are looking to dyslexic people because of their incredible problem solving. You know, there's that. I know that we sometimes forget that, you know, just because you don't read and write properly doesn't mean you don't already are not able to do loads of other amazing things.
And it's like Sean, his son, said, anything to do hands-on, he's amazing.
Yeah.
He's absolutely amazing.
I think back, I don't know, you remember, I did a Gib talk a number of years ago, and I always say this, that before we were reading, writing and spelling, you would be taught a trade, normally by your father if you're a boy, and by your mother if you're a girl, no? And that's how you learned. You learned hands-on. You were a farmer or a carpenter or whatever, and you didn't need to read, write, and spell.
Yeah.
So that's how we you know, kind of built. And that is ideal for dyslexics. They love that. You know, you put them, you know, and teach them something with a hands-on thing.
Yeah.
They love it, and they'll excel, and they'll probably pick it up quicker than anyone else. But then ask them to, you know, they can build something out of wood, and then ask them to write how they built it. And then forget it, you know. So it's just understanding that they have these skills, they have, you know, intelligence in a different way. We judge intelligence by rewriting and spelling, which is ridiculous, you know, and that's not how we should judge intelligence. And, you know, you just need to talk to somebody and see that they're very intelligent, and then maybe they wouldn't be able to write, you know, an essay. So we need to get away from that and see people for who they are.
We're looking at history. What Einstein, Da Vinci, Picasso.
It's the book, actually.
Don't go that far away. Steve Jobs, no? Steve Jobs is also, you know, for me, like, not everybody's an academic. And, like, I don't know about you guys, but there's a lot of things, no offense, sorry, teachers, but, like, there's a lot of things that in, like, English and maths that I never used ever again, you know, and what a shame to make somebody feel less than just because, you know, they can't string a sentence together at age 5, for example, you know, like, it's... What's on the cards for dyslexia for the next Dyslexia Supports Gibraltar for the next few months?
So, you know, we've got some plans coming up. We're working with the government, looking to... one of the areas that we see there's a bit of a need is that when parents find out that their child may be dyslexic or is dyslexic, normally they come to us directly. Sometimes they don't even know about us, so, you know, we try to make sure that we're out there. But what we want to try to do is work with the government and the education department to have a pathway. So normally they get assessed through the school. So if they get assessed through the school, that there's some kind of early birds teaching for them. So maybe a short course or something. So we're working on that to try and get parents, because it can be overwhelming, especially if you don't know much about dyslexia. So to be able to have professionals give you advice, help you understand that. Also, we've just finished our podcast series. Now it's on all the platforms. It's also on YouTube. That is great. And we have something hopefully coming up on Friday, which I just tell viewers to check out social media platforms on Friday, and you'll see what happens on Friday.
A little teaser there. I like it. Earlier this week, or maybe it was last week. No, it was earlier this week. I heard some of your people that you work with mention about how employers can also get in contact with you if any of their employees are dyslexic, and how they can improve the situation in the workplace.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing that people seem to forget, that dyslexia is not a disease. It's a way of thinking. Our brain works differently. So when we leave school, it doesn't mean that dyslexia stops. You know, it's part of who we are. So when we go into the workplace, it's with us as well. And it's important that employers understand dyslexia as well. It's not just about schools and teachers. So that is important, and we try to help and educate businesses. The support that we've seen, you know, in social media, Wearing Red and stuff, that's really good. A lot of them get in contact with us. We try to go in and do, you know, little seminars and stuff like that. But also, like Martin's mentioned, we've got Claire Francis, who's just recently trained with the British Dyslexia Association to do assessments and go into the workplace and help the workplace put in place things to help people with dyslexia. I always say, look, if you want people to know that you're dyslexia friendly, shout it from the rooftops, you know, and let people know.
Of course.
I think that the problem is, unless you've got someone related to you, you won't investigate like I've done, or his mum did, or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've always known about dyslexia, but I didn't actually know like I do now.
Is that something you learned a lot with that
Yes.
book? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's by Kate Griggs, who came over. We brought her over to Gibraltar a few years ago. We did a seminar with her. So it's on our YouTube channel if you want to watch that as well.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, both of you, for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
And finding out a little more about Dyslexia Awareness Week.
Yeah, I hope Friday goes well as well. I want to know what it is now. Can we have like a little bit more of a teaser exclusively for the Hub?
Follow all our social media platforms.
Okay.
You'll start to get the likes coming through the roof now.
Good.
Congratulations, guys, and well done on all
really
your
well
hard
done.
work. I'm glad to see that it's going somewhere. You know,
thank you.
you're not quite done yet, but it's going somewhere.
We'll carry on fighting.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you. Well, coming up after the break, a hands-on activity for all ages. Annabelle and Ellie tell us all about the second Plant a Seed event this weekend at the Alameda Gardens.
Yeah, also a new Wild Things on the way. Catch you in a couple.